Okay, so welcome back to my channel. Using ko lang yung buhok ko. Welcome back to my channel. So, okay, anyway, ano lang ako, mag-vlog lang ako. Just to make a comment regarding yung recent development with regards to the some changes in the immigration process here in Canada. So, nababasa ko kasi na mukhang, because there is a coming election and housing, basically immigration is a very hot topic for the locals right now because for those who hasn't, who's not, sa mga, for those who's not in other countries and uh, is not updated, it has the immigration in Canada has become so bad, um, become so unmanageable that really it created a lot of problems when it comes to the housing and the healthcare system primarily. So anyway, what's my comment? So okay, so first of all, okay, what I'm going to say here. First of all, I am going to comment on this as a, within the context of the Filipino community. I'm not going to talk about the other groups that are affected because there are other groups that are affected. So because I don't know what's going on in there, maybe it's similar, but just to, you know, to avoid any problems, I'm just gonna put it in context of the Filipino community because that's what I know. So I have the authority to, on a certain extent, talk about it because I'm a Filipino myself. So like I said, I'm not going to talk about other groups. So okay, so but what's the problem? The problem is suddenly the Canadian government, Trudeau, with the immigration minister, decided that they're going to clamp down or what's the word? Yeah, that's the word. Deal with the immigration problems that's been plaguing the in Canada for the last couple of years and it hasn't been addressed, and because there is a coming election, I don't know if it's going to be a snap election this year, but definitely I know next year there's going to be election. And our prime minister right now is very, very unpopular, and they can feel the heat that they are not going to be a next term for them because of this. And it has come to a point that every Canadian, even the liberals themselves, has, kind of talking about it. So I'm sorry for if I'm speaking in English. It's because I just want it to be also, because I don't want to put, subtitles. I just don't have time, you know. And because you can, every Filipinos know how to speak English, and Canadians speak English, so I'm gonna stick with that. I may not be, I'm not that fluent, but I'll try to. So anyway, what's the problem? So the problem is, yeah, they clamped it down. They stopped it because, well, there is one problem. One problem is that they allowed visitors to apply for a job, and they did it because there was some foreign nationals, tourists that was stuck in here during the COVID season. So I mean they can't live because there was a lockdown, right? So they decided they gave them kind of a, the permission to fend for themselves because they need to eat. But that is not, they know that it's we know that it's not going to be there forever. At some point it's going to be lifted, and it just happens that it's supposed to be expiring next year, but they said no, right now, as effective today or whatever date it was announced, it's going to effective today, that there's no more, we're not going to extend it. Because really, what country, I have never heard of any country that allowed tourists to apply for work. I think it was unheard of. And maybe because of the uniqueness, because the situation at that time was unique. So anyway, so what's the problem? The problem is that those who want to come to Canada use the loopholes of the temporary foreign workers, the student visa, definitely, and the visitor's visa. They use the loophole to kind of go in front of the line to immigrate here, which is actually not the right process. The right process is to go through the normal immigrating process. You have to, you have to have enough points. You have to, it's a long and expensive process, and I can understand for some people that they they probably won't pass. They probably don't have the resources to do that, but that's the proper way to immigrate. And the reason why is because, well, if you are the receiving country, you want to make sure that the people that will come to you are high quality. It's just how it is. I mean, even if your respective country, even if we're in the Philippines, we're not going, if we are in the same situation, let's say at some point we became hopefully a first world country and somebody wants to immigrate in our country, we also are going to implement the same. It's just it's just the right thing to do. So yeah, so that's what happens. And so there's a lot of Filipinos, and I understand a lot of Filipinos are kind of heartbroken. And I can relate to a certain extent, but let's face it that this is not going to be a forever thing. And as a matter of fact, in even in the past, there's always almost a consistent change in the application process, but this is just the one that's all abrupt. So yeah, like I said, they exploited the loophole of the student visa, the temporary worker, and then the tourist visa. So we just have to accept the fact that, hey, it is just what it is. I don't and I don't think that I mean, we feel bad, but realistically, immigration is not a right, it is a privilege. And that every country has the right to say who are we going to accept, what's the requirements. And instead of being bitter about it, I think that we have to have a grateful heart. We have to be grateful that there are people that was able to take advantage of this situation, and they were here. They were able to bring their family here, and they're here. But the thing here is that we cannot allow it to happen continuously, because it's breaking the Canadian, you know, the lifestyle of Canada. I mean, for every one of you who are um, wanting to have to experience the Canadian dream of coming here to Canada, if you want to come here, don't you want to come here with the expectation of what you envision Canada is? Isn't that what's your plan? Because you think that this is Canada is great because of this and because of that. But if you immigrate here with the broken, you know, with the broken system as it is, you're not going to experience that. And all because the system is already broken. Like me, for instance, I have a 19-year-old son. And after graduating high school, he started looking for a job because he's going to university, looking for a job for a part-time job. He was not able to find a job. And there are a lot of jobs that are posted that they need this, they need like cashier, they need stock people, they need the entry level jobs. He was not able to find a job. And then when you see them, like in the like Tim Hortons and Wendy's, the people that are the crews are obviously temporary workers. I mean, it's kind of unfair. And the only reason he now has a job, thankfully, and the only reason is because I met somebody who works there, so it's kind of a connection. But even then, I sympathize with people with the locals, where their young people is not able to find a job, even like flipping burgers and stuff like that, because it's already filled out by the temporary foreign workers, because that's not the intention of it. The intention of it is to fill a job that the Canadians cannot fill up. The intention of the student visa is for, for people, so they will allowed to study here and spend their money. And then it's also a source for Canada to allow them, because they're going to be considered as a high high skilled immigrants, or high quality immigrants. So instead of them going back to their country, then might as well process the papers here. That's the intention. So you're, like I said, it's just being, the loopholes is being exploited. And for the life of me, please, mga kababayan kong Pilipino, for the life of me, I know that you are very, very frustrated and disappointed of the news, but for the life of me, for the life of Lapu-Lapu, please do not go out on the street protesting and demanding from Canada for something that you're not entitled of. Maya po tayo. I mean, we are not that kind of people. We are a grateful nation. We are a people of we are hardworking, but we are also grateful for what being was given to us. So in my mind, because some of us are being given that opportunity to come here through this, visitors visa, temporary foreign workers, I think the attitude should be, we should be thankful, and we should not demand. Please don't do that. We can ask nicely, because Canadians really are nice. They will bend their backs, basically, if they think that you're worth it. They're generally, they are really nice. They're not gonna give you a hard time. But if you're, going to feel entitled and demand for something that you're not really entitled, it's not a good representation of our community, because that's not us as a people. Filipinos are not like that. So, and for those who are, kasi alam ko, there's a lot of people who really took the risk because they really want to come here. You should have had not just a plan A, you should have a plan B and plan C, because that path has always been risky. That's 90% risk. And anything can just change in just a blink of an eye. So if you're not prepared mentally, physically, financially, then it's not going to work. You really have to plan it out. You really have to write it down. What am I going to do if something happened? What am I going to do if this happens? And you should not put all your eggs in one basket, expecting that things will turn out your way. It usually ends up in a disaster. So yeah, that's my trying hard, a TH kind of a way of my comments, or my thoughts regarding the TFW. It's sad, but something has to be done, because right now it's a complete mess with regards to the housing market and the healthcare. Because what happened is they let a lot of people to come in, but then the infrastructure and the services are not going with it. They didn't prepare. And so, of course, what's going to happen? There's going to be, the rents skyrocketed, the healthcare become, it's so hard to, a lot of families don't even have a family doctor, which is, thankfully, thank God we have one. Because, yeah, it is very difficult. So if actually have a friend who doesn't have a family doctor, and when it comes to lab tests, it's the walk-in clinic, they won't be able to do that to you. So no. And then the line up the hospital, the emergency is so long. So yeah, the last thing if I'm sick, the last thing that I want to be with is the hospital emergency. I had an experience when I had a food poisoning in like last year, and I was not seen, and I was puking, and I diarrhea in the hospital, and I was just like see I ended up lying down on the concrete outside of Royal Alex, and I was like, if I'm gonna die, I want to die comfortably, not like this. So thankfully, it subsided after a couple of hours, and I just left. I've never seen a doctor. So anyway, that's my story. I'm digressing. So okay, so yeah, for the those who are coming here in Canada, I know there are also yung mga tawag dito yung mga, no, they're not recruiters, but those agencies that are taking care of the immigration. I forgot what it's called, but they're also taking advantage of the situation, giving you false hope of what Canada, of what you can do. Uh, they're leading you, they're giving you false hope, and they know that these are the loopholes, and they're telling you, oh, you can do this. You can actually become permanent resident using this, but not knowing that it is very risky. So anyway, that is my one, that my tuning. That's my tuning for with regards to the TFW student visa, uh what you call this, visitors visa situation here in Canada. And I I wish you well, but it's just, it is what it is. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.